It rained, the sun's out, we're all here. Susan's right in front of me. It's like, wow. You all are on screen. Hi. The notes I wrote are all upside down. This is great. I was thinking, feeling today, just in the short time we've been sitting, maybe some of you have had the same feeling of just gratitude. As we show up with our own states of mind, our own troubles, our own joys, and then you just sit down in this ancient way. And even the forms. I've had lots of arguments with the forms over the years. Today I was just feeling like, wow, it's like you don't have to think about it. This is just what you do. You stand up, somebody hits the clappers, you turn, you move, we all move together, the bells ring. No, please. And I should talk loud. Okay, I'm going to talk louder. And if my voice
falls. I really want to hear the Dharma.
Yeah, please. She really wants to hear the Dharma. And if my voice drops, just put your hand up. Face to face. So, Easter, Passover, full moon, quite a time to be sitting. I was thinking about full moon sitting. I like to think about sitting right in the center, the roundness.
Maybe we're rabbits. That image of the rabbit.
We are the rabbits on the full moon. We are, and the rabbits are us. We are rabbits. So we are sitting a mandala in the center of the whole world. I forgot to bring the schedule with me. What time more or less are we supposed to end the talk?
11:20.
Okay. So in Sangha, we have been studying, practicing with the Brahma Viharas. Loving kindness, compassion, joy, sharing joy, sympathetic joy, empathetic joy, and equanimity. Here's a story. During the Buddha's lifetime, those in the Brahmic faith prayed that after death they would go to heaven to dwell eternally with the Brahma, the universal God. Of course, back then the belief is that it was just the Brahmas who got to do it. That was one of the things that was so radical about the Buddha, is the Buddha said, no, it's not just the Brahmins, it's everybody. We're still working to actualize that. Anyway, in this ancient story, one day a Brahmin asked Buddha, what can I do to be sure that I will be with Brahma after I die? And the Buddha replied, as Brahma is the source of love, to dwell with him you must practice the Brahma Viharas. The four immeasurable heart minds, boundless heart minds. Immeasurable because if you practice them, they will grow in you every day until they embrace the whole world, and you will become happier, and everyone around you will become happier too. So we've been practicing and will continue forever because that's our vow. Bodhisattva vow, love, Maitri, loving kindness. The intention and capacity to offer happiness, to be happiness, to be a good friend to ourselves and to each other. Compassion, karuna. The intention and capacity to relieve and transform suffering and to lighten sorrows, our own and the world's. Forever. This is no end game, did I get there yet? Joy, mudita. True love always brings joy to ourselves and others. It's contagious. Sharing another's joy, sharing our own joy, the deepest aspect of it is being filled with peace and contentment. So it doesn't always look like bubbly joy. Peace and contentment can look deep, stable, which brings us to equanimity, upeksha. Upa means over, and iksha means to look, to climb a mountain and to be able to see the whole situation of a letting go. So there's an up closeness to loving kindness, maybe the breathing in and the breathing out. Just this particular self, just this particular moment, and also the exhale at the end. The long space at the end of an exhale. Full moon. Just this particular spot on the earth, this particular state of mind, this particular person, and big full moon view, heart, boundlessly opening over and over again to everything. So I thought might be interesting because the Brahma Viharas are most explicitly practiced, as I understand them, in the Theravadan and the Mahayana. I mean, the Theravadan and the Vipassana tradition. They're part of our Mahayana tradition. But when you look at Zen, Zen more implies these qualities. Basically, what Zen says many things. Mostly it doesn't say much. It just says, sit down, zazen. What do you mean zazen? Well, how's that going to help anybody or do anything? We're spending the whole day together doing this thing called zazen. What is it that we're actually doing, and what does it have to do with these qualities? So I thought it might be interesting and fun to make a bridge, because our practice is a body practice. If we don't know these things in our bodies over and over, affirm and reaffirm it, then we're just going to go tripping along. Well, we're going to do that anyway, but when we trip along and fall, we'll go, oh, I just fell, and I guess we'll just touch the ground and take a breath and get back up again. Because Zazen isn't just something we do on our cushion. It's not just something we do on our cushion. And while it looks like there's a certain posture, I mean, the Buddha on the altar has an amazingly beautiful posture. I think that Buddha is from Burma. It might be from Burma. But some of us can't sit, do sitting meditation. Most of us can't do full lotus meditation. Some of us sit in chairs, some of us lay down, some of us do walking meditation. So I think it's really, really important to ask, to feel in our bodies, what is this zazen that Dogen and everybody is pointing at? Because then it frees it, and it means we know we can take it with us everywhere. And it goes with us everywhere, no matter what. That's what the forms are all about. That's what days like today are all about. That's what these little robes some of us wear are all about, is they're all just reminders. Oh yeah, Zazen. Just this. So I wanted to share. I found some different things that I wanted to share. I think, I have fun when I get a sort of theme in my mind, then I go searching for it and see what pops up. And I found something from Suzuki Roshi that I had never found before. I think I Googled Suzuki Roshi body. This is part of what I found. Could stay with this today. You too can do this. You look at Crooked Cucumber, the website. David Chadwick is amazing in terms of compiling Suzuki Roshi's teachings. And I know there are people working to edit them, and that I think there'll be other books coming out. But for now, Suzuki Roshi, you want to hear about Suzuki Roshi and what he says about Zazen and body? Oh, good. You should sit Zazen with your whole body. See, that's why I got excited. Your spine, your mouth, your toes, your mudra. Check on your posture during Zazen. I would say stay with your body during Zazen. Keep coming back to it. Each part of your body should practice Zazen independently or separately. Since I read this, I've been playing with this a little bit, and I have to admit that it's kind of fun. Your toes should practice Zazen independently. Sometime today, check in with your toe. How is it doing down there? How's your Zazen doing, toe? You could check in with your thumb. You could check, anyway, you could see how you could entertain. Don't get too distracted in this, but notice that you have toes and that they are doing Zazen. Your mudra should practice Zazen independently. Your spine and your mouth should practice Zazen independently. You should feel each part of your body during Zazen separately. Maybe just check in. How you doing, toe? Spine? Ooh, there's a lot more room in here than I was giving you. Mouth. Oh, jaw. Ooh, soften it. Each part of your body should participate completely in Zazen. He says the mudra is the most important. You know, the hand mudra thing that we do. I mean, we say you can put your hands down on your knees or up, or because we're Americans, right? There's a million different ways to do Zazen, but I would like to recommend, if your body allows, the mudra. It's very beautiful. It's called the cosmic mudra, and the left hand rests in the right hand, and the two thumbs touch. If you were Tibetan, at least you get attached to concepts and trying to figure out why the left is on top of the right. The Tibetans do it completely differently. The right is on top of the left. So don't ask me. It's just like, don't worry about it. Just, if this is what's been passed down in this tradition, let's keep trying this out. And the feeling is that you're holding something very precious and beautiful. Sometimes I think of an egg. You could think of, it's like Easter, an Easter egg, although it's not hard-boiled. Or the whole world, or the full moon. And it's also said that in the mudra, you can really pay attention to your state of mind, because if you're thinking, your mudra is going to get really tight. If you're getting sleepy or going to sleep, you better believe your mudra is just going to fall apart, which is okay. It's just like, come bring it back together again. But what he says, most importantly, what Suzuki Roshi says, and I was practicing with this because it's not, because I'm lazy, is I often will sit my mudra and let it rest down on my body. It's like, hey, I'm tired, I'm here, I'm upright. But Suzuki Roshi says, no, the mudra needs its own integrity. There's a different kind of lightness. It's not tight, but there is something very beautiful in this posture. If you really just let the waterfall of your arms come together into a mudra and let it find its own support that isn't well, I want to keep saying resting in your lap, but my mudra doesn't rest in my lap when it's down there. It's mostly going to sleep in my lap. So pay attention to your mudra, but with kindness. This isn't some rule. This is something. Suzuki Roshi says, check to see that each part of your body is doing zazen independently. This is known as shikantaza. I could also say it's known as loving kindness. It's known as compassion. It's known as joy, and it's known as equanimity. That's what this posture is. That's what we're training ourselves. To think I am doing zazen or my body is doing zazen is wrong understanding. It's a very self-centered idea. Then he says, if you think you have some difficulty in some part of your body, then the rest of your body should help that part that's having difficulty. It's like, how could your toe help your mudra? I don't know, but it's an interesting question. How might you from the inside feel your body in a way that might bring it into alignment so that everybody's working together, at least for a moment? It's like, whoa, the whole gang's here. And then, of course, it's like the world. It could fall apart again, but something to pay attention to. Now, here's the next step. This isn't all about you. The entire universe is doing zazen in the same way that your body is doing zazen. When all parts of your body are practicing zazen, then that is how the whole universe practices zazen. So when we sit in alignment, being love and compassion and joy, the divine abodes, just here, just this, nothing special, the whole universe lines up too. It's like, oh, the bugs? Who knows? Maybe it makes the bugs happier that some human being is finally just sitting here present and awake and that their toes are happy. I don't know. But I do know there is some feeling, some felt sense of being part of the universe in a way that's different when I'm running around in my own little separate head with everything out there. This is a very close, intimate practice. When all parts of your body are practicing zazen, then that is how the whole universe practices zazen. Each mountain and each river is going and flowing independently because everything's completely in its own place. It's the same thing here today when we bow and one person bows. There's a beauty to it that spreads. It's like you bow, the person cross bows, everybody's just bowing to each other and the whole world turns into a bow. All parts of the universe are participating in their own practice, and you get to just be you. And the raindrop gets to be a raindrop, and the bird gets to be the bird. The mountain practices independently, the river practices independently, and thus the whole universe practices independently. You may think, when you see something out there, which we do all the time, right? That's what we think, that you are watching something else, not me. But actually, you are watching your mudra or your toe. how you are being with your mudra and your toe and your spine and your breath will, of course, completely condition whether you see what's out there through your karmic eyes or whether there's just this sense of open and wonder and curiosity, of Sherry being completely Sherry, Ellen being completely Ellen. That is why Zazen practice represents the whole universe. We should do Zazen with this feeling in our practice. You should not say, I practice with my body. It is not so. My whole body is practicing with and for the whole universe that is practicing with and for me. And I can taste the truth of that in those moments. And I think you can too. That's part of what we're doing in a day like today. Just remembering. Okay, so then I kept Googling. I found Norman Fischer. What a surprise. And he seems to agree with this whole thing too, although of course he says it completely differently, but sort of the same. So I thought I might share some of what Norman has to say about practicing in a body. First, he talks about the Buddha, when the Buddha woke up, touching the earth. We all know that beautiful mudra. Buddha touched the earth with and for all beings. Touch this earth body, this body earth matter. What we all arise from and what we will all return to. In touching the earth, the Buddha was saying the earth is my body. This is good ecology dharma too, right? My body expresses earth, is produced and supported by earth, is made exclusively by earth elements. Our bodies too are the earth. They rise up from her and are nurtured, fed, and illuminated by her. Our bodies are in constant touch with earth and return to earth, from which they are never parted. You couldn't be separate from this earth if you tried to. Hold your breath and see how long that goes, and then see what happens next. We are all breathing and being breathed. We're drinking water, we're eliminating water, it's flowing through us, we are flowing through it, the sun and the moon and the stars, full moon. That's why this is called full moon Zazen, that includes all the phases, all of it. Our human bodies are expressions of the earth's creative force. Everything that makes human life, breathing, eating, elimination, perceptions, feelings, language, occurs only in concert with earth. No thought would ever take place without the prior existence of earth. No thought would be thinkable without air, water, fire, space, dirt. Oh, I think I'll do without water today. Maybe a little too much fire in here. Huh? Yeah, well, it's nice to be warm. We are the elements and the elements are us. Even our most abstract ideas like freedom, justice, and happiness are nothing more or less than Earth's urge, the thought of wind, sky, water, and light. Nothing we think or do could ever be more profound or true than these natural elements, which are literally nothing more or less than our own bodies. Maybe when we walk outside today, could be aware of the elements. Be aware the element of wind, breeze. Be aware of water. Here, I think we'll see little dewdrops, water drops, as we walk. In gratitude, the warmth of the sun, matter, earth, dust. Just walk with gratitude on this earth that is a mirror of us and we are of it. How we take care of this body takes care of the earth. We cannot desecrate the earth if we're taking care of this body. Completely and profoundly interrelated. In Zen teachings, Norman Fischer goes on, it is axiomatic that the ordinary human body that can be accessed in meditation practice, i.e. today, Zazen, is itself beyond the human body as normally conceived. The true body, as Dogen says, is far beyond the world's dust. Or as Hakuin says, this very body is the body of Buddha. This is one of my most favorite things. This very body is the body of Buddha. This is Buddha's body. This whole world is Buddha's body. We are walking inside of Buddha's body, and Buddha's body is walking inside of us. And then we're walking around going, yeah, well, that was a stupid thought, or boy, I sure screwed that up, or that person over there. Well, that's Buddha's body too, but just be aware. The more we drop body and mind, the more what is here is love and kindness and compassion and joy and a deep equanimity and groundedness of just this moment. This very body is Buddha's body. It's not an idea, it's true. Body of practice, process of paying attention to the body's details. Simply the experience of body itself is the focus of meditation. So today, you can also watch feelings arise and pass. Don't go over them. Sad, tired, angry. Just notice them as weather. Sensations in the body. Oh, it hurts. Oh, my knee doesn't like this. Breathe. For yourself and for the whole world. Returning awareness to the body and the breath over and over again, over the course of one sitting and many sittings, for years, decades, a lifetime, interrupts the usual flow of thinking profoundly based on the assumption of a discrete, self-inhabited, unitary body. So the more we sit, the more you're going to have ongoing and moments. This isn't just about me. There's more going on here. It's alive and full of wonder. Take a breath. Once the flow of our habitual thoughts is interrupted and awareness is returned to the flow of lived experience in the present moment of being alive, a moment in which everything arises and disappears at once and seems to be there and not there, life does feel different. We inhabit the body. Our body sits in a different way, or lays down, or whatever it's doing, it bows. When you eat lunch, lunch will be the same lunch, but it'll be a completely different lunch because you'll know that the whole world contributed to this very lunch. And it's just lunch, but pay attention. After sitting practice, normal daily life in the body returns, but there's a lightness and an ease that comes with the feeling of having been relieved, at least temporarily, of the confinement of your small life lived in a vulnerable body. What a kind thing to do for this self. What a compassionate thing to do for this self and all the suffering selves all over the world. You might feel calmer, but the feeling is more than calm. It's the feeling of reality, of having left at least a little while the stressful unreality of daily living and entering a larger space. This is calming, and if you practice for a lifetime, this temporary relief becomes more than temporary. It does change. Of course, if you have some agenda that you don't like where you are and you really wish it was more spacious and more calm, that'll just make you crazier, but that's okay, just practice with that. And the more we come back, be with the breath, be with the body, something does change. that was always here, and we remember it. The sense that the body is more than the body and that your life is more than your life becomes a conviction and a calm confidence in the body itself. There's the word confidence. Buddhism uses the word confidence. I've always been, so what is this confidence that Buddhism is pointing to? It's clearly not the confidence of, well, I have the confidence now that I'm a self and I'm going to go take on the whole world. There's something quieter and deeper. What is this confidence? You can feel it in the statues of Buddha. It's quiet and it's present. You can feel it when you look around a meditation room or when you look on the screen. You can feel presence and intention. Okay. So I found lots of other things, but there's one thing I want to share. Some of you may know I'm co-teaching a class at Everyday Zen, and we're doing it on the ancestors. And I found this story that I had found before, and then I'd forgotten. Life is kind of like that, right? And I kind of knew Marjorie was going to be here today, and I knew this person is one of our ancestors. And there's something so beautiful about the story of Trudy Dixon, who worked with Suzuki Roshi to create Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. She edited that original book. Somehow this story seems to me to be about Zazen. It's about the Brahma Viharas. It's about birth and death and this body. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to read it to you and share it. Trudy Dixon had been doing graduate studies in philosophy at UC Berkeley, specializing in Heidegger and Wittgenstein when her husband Mike first took her to Sokoji in 1962 to hear a Suzuki Roshi lecture. They arrived late and stood in the back of the Zendo. Suzuki Roshi embarked on an unusual line of thought that evening. He compared the practice of Zen with the study of philosophy, expressing one's truth with one's whole body and mind. Whoops, there we go. Instead of thinking and being curious about the meaning of life. He said he'd had a good friend in Japan who was a philosopher, and ultimately his intellectual pursuits didn't satisfy him, and he killed himself. At exactly that point in the lecture, Suzuki looked intently at Trudy. Now, who knows what really happened, but this is the way the story is written. She backed up a few steps. Trudy could not get that experience out of her mind. She and Mike continued coming to lectures and soon decided to start practicing with Suzuki Roshi, and they became close disciples. And over time, the students began recording the talks and then transcribing. And in the spring of 1968, the transcript of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Suzuki Roshi's talks, was given to Trudy Dixon, who had helped edit Suzuki Roshi's lectures for the Windbell, which was a Zen Center publication that used to come out. Trudy took on the task even though she had 2 small children, had undergone surgery for breast cancer, and was in poor health. She threw herself completely into it, listening to the original tapes, painstakingly working on the material, word by word, thought by thought, organizing it, and conferring often with Richard Baker and Suzuki Roshi. In Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Trudy put her whole being into expressing the essence of Suzuki's teachings. I would say her whole body and heart and mind. After she had completed her work on the manuscript, she concentrated on taking care of herself at home and dealing with her approaching death. There was a body very much involved in all of this, just as our bodies are very much involved in each moment, this birth, death, life. She remained cheerful on the outside, but her mind was possessed by fear. After an operation, her lungs filled with liquid and she couldn't breathe. She struggled for breath with all the energy she could find until she went beyond thoughts, words, and fear into what she called breath struggle samadhi. We don't know what this body is going to bring us, right? We could say right now parts of the earth, the world, are in breath struggle samadhi. We're witnessing it on the news. But she recovered enough to go to Tassajara, and she had a powerful, joyous experience that included life and death, health and illness, fear and courage. She stayed with it all the way through, this body. She said she had finally stopped fighting and was accommodating the enemy, as Suzuki had described it. You got any enemies in there that you would like to stay with all the way through, for yourself and for the world? And those around her described her as being like a new person, a fearless and radiant woman. What happened? Same body, maybe. Could describe the same story, putting it on top of it. What is it that turned? To her husband, caretakers, and friends, she became an inspiration. She wrote, "Myself, my body, this self, this body, here we are back again, right, is dissolved in phenomena like a sky's rainbow caught in a child soap bubble." I'm going to read that again because I think that's a really beautiful sentence. "Myself, my body, is dissolved in phenomena like a sky's rainbow caught in a child's soap bubble." And she began referring to her illness as this blessed cancer. Suzuki Roshi visited Trudy at her home, and one day after such a visit, he returned to the car with his eyes wet. "Now there's a real Zen master," he said of Trudy as he sank into his seat. I would say, another way to say this is Trudy Dixon, the Brahma Viharas. We're practicing her, and she was practicing the Brahma Viharas, which is the realm of love. She was given what she was given. This body is given what it's given. But how do we be with it? This is Zazen practice. On July 9th, 1969, Mike called Suzuki Roshi at Sokoji and told him that Trudy had just died in the hospital. Too quickly for Suzuki to have gotten there. Suzuki Roshi fell apart crying on the phone. They loved each other. That's what happens. Zen can look so other, you know? It's just like, oh, what's all this black and what are we all doing? You know, the forms and the... It's a practice of love. It's so deep and it's so intimate that you just give yourself to it over and over and over again. At Trudy's funeral 2 days later, Suzuki Roshi was uncharacteristically emotional. He cried and said, "I never thought I'd have a disciple this great, and maybe I never will again." I was thinking the story of Dogen is when Dogen was dying, as I understand it. The story is that he had a great disciple who was very disciplined, who was very smart, who studied the sutras, and it was assumed that this person would take over when Dogen died. And Dogen said, "No, I'm sorry, you're really a wonderful disciple, but what you don't know is grandmotherly mind." It's those qualities of the heart, of the boundless heart, of a fierce devotion to just this, to this body and the body of the whole earth and whatever it brings us. As is customary, the funeral included an ordination in which Suzuki Roshi gave his deceased student the precepts, and then he delivered a eulogy. This sounds to me just like the Brahma Viharas. Go, my disciple. You have completed your practice for this life and acquired a genuine, warm heart, a pure and undefiled Buddha mind, and joined our Sangha. All that you have done in this life and in your past lives becomes meaningful in the light of the Buddha mind, which was found so clearly within yourself as your own. Because of your complete practice, your mind has transcended far beyond your physical illness and has taken full care of your sickness like a nurse. A person of joyful mind is contented with their lot. Even in adversity, they will see bright light and find the Buddha's place in different circumstances, easy and difficult, and feel pleasure even in painful conditions, and rejoice. For us, for all who have this joy of Buddha mind, the world of birth and death is the world of nirvana, is the world of love, of freedom. And then he goes on to say, the compassionate mind is the affectionate mind of parents. Parents always think of the growth and welfare of their children to the neglect of their own circumstances. Our scriptures say Buddha mind is the mind of great compassion. Buddha mind is the mind of great compassion. If you think what you're doing today is a Band-Aid placed on top of everything else, well, it could be that. And look deeply and be surprised over and over the great compassion of the person next to you, the great compassion of the sounds and the elements of the world coming close, the great compassion of your own confusion and delusion, the great compassion of birth and death, and that none of us are going to get out of this alive. The magnanimous mind, we could say the mind of equanimity, is a mind, is as big as a mountain and is as wide as the ocean. A person of magnanimous mind is impartial and walks the middle way, never attached to any side of the extreme aspect of things. Just notice, oh, I'm hanging on pretty tight over here. Take a breath. How's your toe? Come back to your toe. How's your spine? How's the wind on your cheek? How's this body that is the very body of Buddha? The magnanimous mind works justly and impartially. The entire body is all working together. The mudra helps the toe, and the toe helps the jaw, and the jaw helps the people across the way. There's no beginning and there's no end. Some of us have cancer and some of us don't, and what is that anyway? And what is it that you think you have that I don't have, that I'm sorry for you and afraid for myself, and on, and whatever is happening over there in the world, just keep coming back. How you doing? Just keep coming back. How you doing? How you doing in your little boxes there? How you doing, Lorna? How you doing, Marjorie? How you doing, Kristen? Now you have acquired the Buddha mind and become a real disciple of the Buddha. And at this point, however I express my true power, and then at that point, Suzuki Roshi let out a long, mighty roar of grief that echoed throughout the cavernous auditorium. Suzuki Roshi knew and knows about grief. To love is to risk loss, to love fully all the way through. So we sit down together. We sit down on this earth. We're so lucky we have good friends willing to sit down in this full, amazing, beautiful mess, wonder of Buddha's body. I think so. What else are we going to do with this one precious life? Well, at least it looks like one precious life. Don't waste it. Don't take it for granted. Don't make it more than it is. Don't make it less than it is. This very body is Buddha's body. The true nature of this very body, of the world, and of this body that sometimes, well, that I call Chris, and sometimes I think, and sometimes I think, it's like, depending on the moment. True nature, keep coming back. The nature of when you taste it, when you touch it, is love and kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. That's just the truth of it. Not as an idea, but as a body experience. That is Zazen body. That is living this practice with and for all beings. And all we need to do is we're going to do the after lecture chant. We'll put our hands in Gassho. Then I'll stand up and we'll do some more bows. And then we'll just follow these forms. And we'll stand up and we'll sit down and we'll eat lunch, and you'll go to the bathroom and you'll like some of it and you won't like some of it. And maybe you'll be as deluded as you were when you began, and maybe you'll be a little more enlightened and but I think we'll be a little softer and a little more tenderized. Because when we let the world in close, that's what happens. And ultimately, it's going to come in close no matter how hard you try to keep it out there. So let's just practice today, breathing in and out and supporting and helping each other and the world wake up together in this very body. And if you don't remember anything else from this talk, just, it's my quirky sense of humor, just one time today ask your toe how it's doing. Or anything else that you want. Okay, so let's do the after lecture chant, and then we'll do some more bows, and then there'll be walking meditation, so you can go outside if you want. It's not raining here, at least. And let the elements come close. They are you and you are it. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it.